curse words and sarcasm were used in the making of this video. Hello, Jamie from Salty Card Creations, back with the Potty Mouth Crafters Society and a new video, even if I made this one back in June and am only now getting around to edits and voiceover. So I started with this Squatch on stamp set, and I kind of like to play, you know, putting two stamp sets together that maybe you wouldn't think to put together. And then, of course, I came up with a story that kind of went with it. I just kind of went with it. So I'm starting with the Sasquatch image on this one. I'm going to heat my cardstock. The cardstock I'm using is Ranger's heavy, mixed media heavy stock. I don't like it for wet mediums, but for ink blending it works very well. And so that's kind of what I've been doing with it. I bought it for the wet, like spray ink stuff, and it just doesn't work like it used to. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. So I treated it with some anti-static powder tool with my Tailored Expression anti-static powder tool. Then I'm going to, you know, I inked it with VersaFine Vintage Sepia ink, and then of course used a older, I think it's called Cappuccino embossing powder. It kind of has a coppery metallic look to it. It's also just got some browns in it, so it's kind of a, I don't know, it gave it texture and some, you know, some color and all the good things. Anyways, so this is kind of where this story starts. So this is Daryl, and Daryl might be a girl, because you know Daryl Hannah's a girl. And so anyways, so Daryl might just be a girl, and you know, she's a hide and seek champ, right? But maybe, just hear me out. Maybe Daryl's a crafty motherfucker that just wants to be left alone to craft. Aren't we all a little bit like Daryl? Just saying. Yeah. That's, you know, that's all I'm saying. So anyways, I decided to do an emboss resist on this one. And so, you know, I just ended up doing a lot of hand stamping with my VersaMark, some clear embossing powder, kind of picking and choosing stamp, like the sentiment sets from both sets, just kind of, you know, working my story as I was stamping. It kind of just, you know, it went. And, you know, it's hard to see at this point all of the sayings and things that I used, but don't worry, we'll get there. So I just continued onward with the stamping of all of the sentiments here. And you know, it kind of got a little bit fuller than I had maybe intended on it being, but ultimately I like how it ended up turning out. So I just continue on. It took a little bit of time to do them. I would stamp one, cover it with clear embossing powder, heat set, and add another, you know, continue adding until I was content with my background there. I wanted lots of text. I love putting words and text on cards just in general. I love the look of text, and so therefore that's where I went. So for this one, I decided to do an emboss resist. So I'm going to build my scene, kind of doing one layer. It's not one that I do a whole lot of. So I'm pulling out a super old stencil that I got from my nanny's stash. She was getting rid of it, and I was like, oh, this one looks kind of fun. So it has mountains on one side, trees on the other side, and then I think there's another stencil in this one. Don't quote me. I might pull it out. I think there's like things in the middle of them, so trying to make sure that I don't, you know, use them. So I think there's like a moon and some stars and a sun, so you can kind of go through. So I kind of flipped the stencil around so I could get a second layer of mountains behind. So I started with Villainous Potion for my for my purple, and then I brought in some black soot. Now I'm using Distress Oxides. If I would have gone with dye inks, you would have seen probably a better, you know, layering of ink. And so I ended up having to relining it up and bring in the black there so you could kind of see a little bit more of that layering, although the Distress Oxides will layer on top of each other. So this way I could add the trees on top of that black soot, whereas they're dark, but you're going to see that green over the top of them. And then of course bringing in another color of green to kind of help lighten that up a little bit. And then I'm going to do a shift on this one as well and kind of fill in those little areas that maybe didn't get colored the first time around. And then continue onward, kind of just, you know, using the stencil where I needed it, and then coming in with a darker green for the forefront here. And then I'm just using, I make my own stencils sometimes, so using just whatever I have for die cuts, and then I use craft plastic, and this way I can just cut it out and I can reuse it multiple times, and then, you know, it works. So it saves a little bit of, I don't know if it saves, because I have a lot of stencils anyways, but you know, you get a little bit more bang for your buck when it comes to using your dies for stencils as well. I do that with my clouds sometimes too. So I will end up bringing in just a regular dye ink. So I'm bringing in close to my heart dye ink. I ended up going with, I don't remember which one. So maybe I did do both of them. So I did the Sapphire, which is a dark blue, and then I did a lighter blue. I don't go too heavy with my Sapphire here. I kind of kept it light. And then I came in with that lighter blue and just kind of mixed the two onto my stencil and or my background. Just kind of layering the clouds over the top. And then, you know, flipping and switching the stencil around where needed. And then I'm just going to go over the whole top here, just because it's not going to, you're not going to see it on top of that Oxide ink. It works, you know, that's probably why I went with Oxide ink, to be honest with you. And then I added a little bit of water onto my flower cloth sack towel here. And then I'm just going to buff the ink off of all of that clear embossed lettering. So there we go. That's, you know, pretty much all of it, right? So I definitely had fun creating this one when I did it, kind of creating the story in my head as I was stamping all of the things. So Daryl is just a crafty motherfucker who wants to stay home and craft, and, you know, just leave me alone, because I just want time in the craft room. I mean, I feel that one. I feel that one deep some days. Alright, so anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing... Oh, I'm not done. Sorry. Back up the train, woman. So I did bring in some Trinity Stamps embellishments here. I love their flat back confettis. And so I ended up... I was going to go with the lighter ones, and then I decided to switch them out. I'm pretty sure this one is Twilight, which I don't think you can get on their site anymore, but it's got purples and blues and some clears in there. I just liked the color combo to kind of go with the clouds and of course the mountains in there. So I kind of kept it kind of simple. I just added a few here and there. I did end up bringing in some of those yellows from that other confetti mix, and, you know, keep creating and being crafty mofos, and, you know, stay salty, my friends. Bye.